Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is Thursday and that means it's time for True Crime Tales with Christiana. And today we're going to be covering the Heath High School shooting from 1997. As always, there is a content warning because things can be graphic, and if you don't do well with violence or bloodshed, I would suggest moving on. Getting into it, let's go. The Heath High School shooting occurred at Heath High School in West Paducah, Kentucky on December 1st, 1997, when Michael Carneal, 14, opened fire on a group of students, killing 3 and injuring 6. On December 1st, 1997, Carneal wrapped a shotgun and a rifle in the blanket and took them to school, passing them off as an art project he was working on. He carried a loaded Ruger MK2.22 caliber pistol in his backpack. Carneal rode to school with his sister and arrived at approximately 7:45 a.m. When he arrived, he inserted earplugs into his ears and took the pistol out of his bag. He fired 10 rounds in fast succession at a student prayer group. 3 girls later died and 6 other students were wounded. Brittany Thomas, a survivor, said that when she turned around during the shooting, she was kind of facing down the barrel of the gun. A member of the group, Benjamin Strong, testified that Carneal dropped the gun of his own accord after the shooting. Carneal placed his pistol on the ground and surrendered to the school principal, Bill Bond. After dropping the gun, Carneal said to Strong, "Kill me, please. I can't believe I did that." The deceased included Nicole Hadley, 14, a freshman who played in the school band and on the freshman basketball team. She was kept alive until 10 p.m. the evening of the shooting. Her family had moved to Paducah from Nebraska the year before. Her parents were praised for donating her organs. President Bill Clinton cited this courageous decision in his proclamation 7083 on National Organ and Tissue Donor Awareness Week in '98. Jessica James, 17, a senior and member of the marching band, she died in surgery at Western Baptist Hospital the afternoon of the shooting. Casey Steger, 15, was a sophomore, a clarinetist in the school band, and a member of the Agape Club. Not really sure what that is. And softball team. She died at Lourdes Hospital in Paducah about 45 minutes after the shooting. She was an honor student and member of Law Enforcement Explorers Post 111 who hoped to be a police officer one day. The wounded included Shelley Schauberg, 17, was described by the principal as the school's best female athlete, voted Miss Heath High School by the senior class. Shelley was homecoming queen. Although her injuries from the shooting prevented her from playing basketball, her college honored her basketball scholarship and she went on to play college soccer. Melissa Missy Jenkins, 15, was president of the Future Homemakers of America. She was paralyzed from the chest down after being shot. She has appeared on numerous national and local television shows, talked to newspaper reporters, and appeared in 2 TV commercials for Channel 1 News, an educational channel that reaches schools throughout the country. A video interview of her was featured on the homepage of YouTube.com on April 22, 2007. Mandy Jenkins, 15, was the twin sister of Melissa. Sorry, I lost my... A bullet grazed her neck. Kelly Hard Alsup, 16, was a member of the softball team in the Future Homemakers of America. She transferred to the local Catholic school the year after the shooting. Holland Holm, a member of the academic team, the Spanish club, and the Science Olympiad, in his valedictory speech to the class of 2001 graduation, he reminded his class that they had lost not 1, but 2 members on December 1st, 1997. Nicole Hadley and Michael Carneal. Holm has been involved with an organization that urges students to speak up if they know of threats against schools or students. Craig Keene, 15, was a member of the Agape Club, the band, and the basketball team. Michael Adam Carneal was a 14-year-old freshman at the time of his shooting. Carneal told reporters that he could give a single explanation for his crimes and that contributing factors included a mistaken belief that his parents did not love him, taunting from classmates, and false claims he was gay. He stated that he did not know who he was aiming at until he read the names in the paper. Weeks before the incident, Carneal had stolen a .38 caliber handgun from his parents' room and attempted to sell it. A student took the gun, threatening to tell police if Carneal did not give it to him. Carneal had told students that something big is going to happen on Monday, but no one took him seriously. And the weeks before the shooting, Carneal stole several firearms
firearms from both his own home and a neighbor's home. On the afternoon of Thanksgiving Day, Carneal went to his neighbor's home and broke into the garage, taking 4 .22 rifles, a 30-30 rifle, .22 and 12-gauge ammunition, and earplugs. Later, he stole a Ruger .22 pistol and several .22 magazines. Presumably, sometime after Thanksgiving, Carneal stole 2 shotguns from his father's closet and hid them under his bed. According to reports, Carneal has been bullied by other students and had anxiety, depression, and severe paranoia. His paranoia was manifested in habits such as covering up vents and windows while in bathrooms because he believed he was being watched. Following the shooting, Carneal was diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder and dysthymia. Kathleen O'Connor, who treated Carneal while he was incarcerated at the Northern Kentucky Youth Development Center, initially agreed with his diagnosis, but later determined that Carneal had paranoid schizophrenia. Dewey Carnell and Diana Shetke, who evaluated Carneal after the shooting, later changed their diagnosis to schizophrenia. He has been hospitalized several times since the start of his incarceration due to psychosis and takes the antidepressants Zoloft and Geodon, an antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia. Carneal had in his locker at the time a copy of the Stephen King's novel Rage, first published in 1977 under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. After this shooting, King requested his publisher to allow it to be out of print, fearing that it might inspire similar tragedies. Rage, for a time, continued to be available in the United Kingdom and the Bachman Books collection, although the collection now no longer contains Rage. And I did look into this. There's, no evidence of this book ever having existed. It's just not there anymore. So I commend Stephen King for doing that, just because he wanted to prevent this from happening later or again. And most authors would not give up their pride and joy of work to do that. So I do think what he did was a great thing. And as we know, it didn't stop school shootings, but... sadly, but I still think he does deserve some kind of recognition for, doing what he thought was right. In October of 1998, a guilty plea from Carneal was accepted due to his mental illness. Under a plea agreement, the judge agreed to accept the pleas on condition that Carneal would receive a life sentence with the possibility of parole in 25 years. According to prosecutor Tim Kaltenbach, the plea allows Carneal to receive mental health treatment given during imprisonment as long as this is necessary for him or until he is released. Carneal was transported to the Kentucky State Reformatory in LaGrange when he turned 18, where he remains. Prior to that, he was held in Northern Kentucky Youth Development Center, a Kentucky Department of Juvenile Justice facility in Crittenden. Carneal's Kentucky Department of Corrections ID is 151127. Carneal began serving time with KDOC on June 1st, 2001. In 2007, Carneal filed an appeal claiming that he was too mentally ill to plead guilty to the shooting at Heath High School. He asked the Kentucky Supreme Court for a retrial. Prosecutors appealed, and the Kentucky Supreme Court rejected his request. In 2012, he attempted to withdraw his plea, claiming he was mentally ill at the time that he made it. Later in the year, the U.S. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals denied the request, stating that he should have acted sooner. He was originally scheduled to be eligible for parole on November 16, 2022. However, his hearing was rescheduled and began on September 19th of 2022. On September 26, 2022, the parole board unanimously denied Carneal's bid for parole and ordered him to serve out the remainder of his life sentence. The serve out ruling under Kentucky law means the inmate in question cannot be considered for any future parole hearings, though commutation or pardon from the governor is still possible. This means Carneal's life with parole sentence is now effectively a life without parole sentence. The families of the deceased have agreed to a $42 million settlement from Carneal. At the time of settlement, he had no assets, and his family's insurance company, Kentucky Farm Bureau, has insisted repeatedly throughout court motions that it is not liable for his actions. In early 1999, the parents of 3 victims, represented by Jack Thompson, filed a $33 million lawsuit against 2 internet pornography sites, several game companies, and makers and distributors of the 1994 film Natural Born Killers and the 1995 film The Basketball Diaries. They claimed that media violence inspired Carneal and therefore should be held
inspired Carneal and therefore should be held responsible for the deaths that occurred. Both Thompson and the United States Attorney General Josh Ashcroft claimed Carneal's proficient marksmanship was due to practice in violent video games. The case was dismissed in 2002 with the 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that it's simply too far a leap from shooting characters on a video screen to shooting people in a classroom. Now, as somebody whose kid plays video games, shoot 'em up games, other games, I don't agree with this idea that video games is what makes them violent, because there are people who play the same games and never do anything to anyone. So is it the game, or is it something in the brain that makes that game come to life? Because don't get me wrong, I've seen Criminal Minds, I've seen Law & Order SVU, I have seen people like reenact like live games or whatever, and I get it, it does happen, but not every person does that, so I don't know that you could really just solely blame the game for what's happening. Does that make sense? Family of victims organized a 20th anniversary service to commemorate the victims and open a memorial for the victims placed across the street from the school. The memorial was built in a circle to symbolize the prayer circle that was targeted, with 5 benches representing the 5 surviving victims. Let us take a moment of silence for Nicole Hadley, Jessica James, and Casey Steger. As always, please don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make good choices, and have a wonderful week. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.